When she mentioned how her aunt bit off the spoon, she completely done me in, and my heart went on a journey to the moon when she told about her father and the gin.
Opera Australia's 2017 program is very, very impressive. From Carmen to My Fair Lady to The Merry Widow, Melbourne audiences are in for a real treat this year. Lyndon Terrachini is the Artistic Director of Opera Australia, and he joins me online now to have a chat about the program. Lyndon, welcome into our show today.
Good morning, Leigh.
Nice to have you with us, pal. Thank you for taking this valuable time.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great to be with you.
You've got a fantastic program coming up, and we'll talk about that very, very shortly. But yourself first, a baritone. You've sung around the great opera houses of the world. You lived in Italy for a long time. What was your interest in, and how was it fostered in opera?
Well, it's an interesting story, I guess, because I grew up in the Salvation Army,
Mm-hmm.
and my parents were very involved in that, as were my both sets of grandparents. And so from an early age, I was playing in brass bands and singing, and often in those brass band concerts that the Salvation Army had in those days, we played a lot of big excerpts from symphonies, Tchaikovsky symphonies, Dvorak, New World Symphony, and so on and so on. And there were a few pieces too that were arrangements of hits from Italian operas. And so I guess from an early age, I became familiar with the music. And then when I started to have some singing lessons at the Sydney Conservatorium of Music, as it was in those days, my teacher suggested that I should think about becoming an opera singer.
Now,
Well,
you would have been a teenager or thereabouts in those years.
I was about 18 years of age.
Yeah, so as an 18-year-old kid, and you and I are a similar age, how did you grow up then with that saying, oh, opera, now can I really do that? The Beatles are out there, and I got the Rolling Stones. How did you put that defining edge between the two?
Well, I was always attracted to that sort of music,
Right.
but it wasn't really until a few years later when I was at university, and a friend of mine said, they're looking for extras for the Australian opera, as it was called in those days,
Mm-hmm.
and we can earn a bit of money. And I said, oh, okay, great. So we went along, and I got a job as an extra in Turandot at the Elizabethan Theatre in Newtown. And Donald Smith, the late Donald Smith, was singing Calaf in Turandot. So he was, after I'd finished my duties holding a spear or whatever I used to hold in those days, I used to go around and stand in the wings and listen to him sing Nessun Dorma. And it was fantastic, and he was a wonderful singer. And I thought, that's what I'd really like to do. And as I said, my singing teacher had encouraged me to be an opera singer, but at that stage I'd never met an opera singer. I didn't even consider that you could make a living doing that. And so I started taking it a bit more seriously. And then I got a scholarship to go to the opera school. And then I was offered a job in South Australia as a full-time singer for a year. And then I was one of the first young artists with Opera Australia at that time, the year after that, and it sort of went from there. But it was really, I suppose, that love of playing brass band music and being attracted to classical music when I was very young, and then being exposed to opera in the theatre as an extra when I was a student at university that really cemented it for me, I guess.
So a lot of thanks goes then to the Salvos.
Yeah, I did, yeah. I mean, without realising it, I was having a fantastic education, certainly musically, because they were very good brass bands in those days, so I learned to play all of the brass instruments except the French horn and timpani, and I was singing, and so then, I started to play the piano a bit. So it was really a complete musical education that I had without me really realising it.
When you went to Italy, what were you doing over there?
Well, I'd been singing with the Australian Opera for about 5 years and singing principal parts, but I really didn't know what I was doing. I just sang, and the sound that came out, people thought was pretty good, so they offered me things. And so after about 4 or 5 years, I thought, if I'm going to keep doing this, I better actually learn how to do it. So I went to Italy to find a really good teacher, and I did.
Yeah.
And so for about 12 months, I just went to singing lessons 3 times a week, and was singing every now and then to make ends meet. And then after that, I started to sing full time again, and started off with an Italian touring company. singing Verdi's The Masked Ball and Ballo in Maschera in Germany. And then other people heard me, and so it sort of went from there. But it was important for me to really take that year and really understand, as we call, what a secure singing technique meant, and to be able to sing all the things in the repertoire that not only did I want to sing, but suited my particular type of voice.
Yeah, beautiful baritone voice. You stayed in Italy for a number of years, of course. Your daughter, Catherine, was born there too, I believe, and she's an actress in her own right too here in Australia, isn't she?
Yeah, she is, yeah. No, Catherine, well, both my daughters were born there, Catherine and Alexis, and Catherine is an actor and works all over the country and in film and all the rest of it. And so I think that spending that time in Italy was about 8 years in the end. Was not only good for me initially, to cement my vocal technique, but also to absorb that sort of culture and obviously to learn the language. And I really was very keen to learn the language and learn it well, because when you're singing so many operas in Italian, and if you can't speak the language, it makes it, well, apart from anything else, it's a bit odd, but
be very difficult,
really get in.
Yeah.
Well, you can't really get inside those characters unless you really understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, yes, it's like English, isn't it? Unless you know what you're saying, you can't get that emotion through to the audience.
Exactly. I mean, it would be like doing a Shakespeare play if you couldn't speak English.
Yeah, of course.
It's crazy when you think about it. But
of course.
there's a surprising number of people who can't speak the language and do sing in operas, but I couldn't do it.
Well, I'm glad you've done it the right way. A great program coming up for Melbourne for 2017. You're opening up with Carmen, which is on the 4th of May. Tell us who's starring in Carmen, what we can expect.
Well, Carmen is a fantastic production. It's a new production by John Bell, and it has a phenomenal cast. Rinat Shaham is one of the great Carmens in the world. She sang it on the Honda Opera on Sydney Harbour stage in Sydney. And she's really a very sexy, dynamic Carmen, wonderful actor and a wonderful singer. And the Don José is Dmitry Popov. He's Russian. He's got a fantastic voice, and he's also sung it here before.
Yes, I was going to say I've heard him before. Yeah.
Yeah, he sings in all the great opera houses in the world. He's got a really beautiful voice, but a surprisingly powerful voice, and he's a very passionate actor as well. And Stacey Alaum is singing Michaela. She's a young singer. She's from Melbourne, but she has a really beautiful voice. And I think Stacey will have an important international career. She's certainly developing that way at the moment. And Shane Laurentieff, who's also from Melbourne, he's singing the bullfighter Escamillo. And, of course, he sings the famous Toreador song that everyone will be familiar with. But we've got, as I said, a wonderful cast. And it's conducted by Guillaume Tournier, French conductor, who, of course, knows this music incredibly well and has a great affinity for it as well. So it'll be very exciting doing it in that theatre, at the State Theatre in Melbourne, too. It's a
great space, isn't it?
Play
It really is.
It's a really wonderful theatre to play opera. You know, the Sydney Opera House has serious limitations on the inside, but the State Theatre in Melbourne doesn't have any of those limitations, and it's wonderful to see these productions there. And the singers feel a lot better about, really allowing their voices to soar in a space like that. It's fantastic.
Yes, the acoustics are very, very, very good. What else is coming after Carmen? We're looking at what?
We've got Cavalleria Rusticana and Pagliacci. This is also a new production, and it's a co-production that we did with the Royal Opera House in London at Covent Garden. Directed by Damiano Micheletto, and in fact it won the Olivier Award as the best opera production of the year. And with that too, we have a fantastic cast, exactly the same cast that did it in Sydney, in fact. Diego Torre sings Turidu and Canio, so he sings both operas. And look, I don't think there's anyone in the world who can do that now. And Diego is a phenomenal tenor. He was originally from Mexico. He's now an Australian. He's taken out Australian citizenship. And both his children were born here. He's a terrific actor and a really wonderful singer. You don't hear anyone sing these roles better than Diego Torre at the moment. And Santuca is Dragana Radakovic. She's Serbian, a fantastic singer. She sang, when we did Turandot with Honda Opera on Sydney Harbour, she sang Turandot and had a very big success. and she sang Santuzza in Sydney, and she's one of the great Santuzzas. It's a very, very difficult role, and she did it wonderfully well.
Look forward to that
And of
very,
course,
very much.
Sorry, what was that?
Look forward to hearing her very, very much, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, she's a fantastic singer and actor. And Jose Carbo is a great favourite with Opera Australia audiences, sings Alfio in Cavalleria Rusticana, and also he sings Tonio in Pagliacci. And, of course, in Pagliacci, there's the famous prologue that he sings, and also Canio sings Vesti la Giubba. So it's a great cast, conducted by Andrea Licata, who's a favourite with audience as well. And but the production it's a really fantastic production, the best production of Cavalleria Rusticana Pagliacci that I've ever seen, actually. And that view has been shared by everyone who's seen it, I think. And then, of course, we have My Fair Lady.
Yes, My Fair Lady.
Directed by Julie Andrews.
You'd have gotten to meet Julie, when she was out here last year?
Yeah. She was here for the whole rehearsal period.
Yeah.
And she had a terrific time, and it's a wonderful production. And again, a great cast. And we're playing that at the Regent Theatre from the 12th of May till the 29th of July. So it's quite a long run, and it's a gorgeous theatre, and everyone is really looking forward to that. And Charles Edwards is playing Professor Higgins, and Anna O'Byrne, who's well known to Australian audiences now as Eliza Doolittle, and of course Reg Livermore, Robin Nevin, Mark Vincent, Tony Llewellyn-Jones. A great lineup.
It's a great cast,
wonderful,
isn't it?
Wonderful.
Yeah, a wonderful
and
cast.
this production too is absolutely beautiful. It's based on the original production that, of course, starred Julie Andrews, and it's the 60th anniversary production, 60 years since it first premiered. And when we first did it last year, it was Opera Australia's 60th anniversary as well.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's been a wonderful association and great synergy. But look, I don't think anyone has been anything but absolutely thrilled when they've seen it in Sydney, and it's playing in Brisbane. Well, it opens in Brisbane soon. But every song in My Fair Lady is a hit, and it's probably the most complete musical, I think, in the entire canon. It's one of those pieces that is genuinely a work of genius, with beautiful music and wonderful text by Alan J. Lerner, and music, of course, by Frederick Lowe. But this is really a special thing to see.
You probably got to meet Julie Andrews and speak to her, I'd imagine, when she's down there, and she was my big favourite. I grew up, of course, with The Sound of Music, My Fair Lady, all those sorts of things, and I fell madly in love with this lady, and I've always wanted to interview her. And, of course, she doesn't do many interviews, but it's still on my bucket list. It's still on the bucket list to do.
Well, Leigh, I think everyone has said that to me. And in fact, I did too. Grew up with watching Julie Andrews, Andrews in The Sound of Music, and of course, she's a delightful human being. And we spent a lot of time together during the auditions and then the rehearsal period. And she's exactly the way that she is on screen.
That's nice to hear, isn't
tremendously
it?
generous, open human being who is very giving and tremendously patient and loving of performers as well. So everyone who works with Julie loves her as much as everyone who's seen her on the screen.
Yeah, that's great to hear. King Roger's coming up too, and The Merry Widow. Tell us about King Roger before you go.
Yeah, well, King Roger's it's a fantastic piece. And again, this is a co-production we did with the Royal Opera in London. It's music by Szymanowski, and we've never ever, in fact, it's never ever been done by anyone in Australia. But it's really beautiful music, and this production is phenomenal. It's really when the piece starts, it's tremendously arresting. It's got a magnificent chorus in it, and of course, the Opera Australia chorus has recently been nominated as the best opera chorus in the world, and they do a phenomenal job. But it's a great cast of Michael Honeyman, Lorena Gore, Arthur Espirito, James Eggleston, Domenica Matthews, Gennady Dubinsky, and conducted by Andrea Molino. Andrea Molino is a wonderful conductor, and he conducts this entirely from memory, and I think he's the only person in history who's ever conducted this opera from memory. So it's a phenomenal achievement, and it's directed by Caspar Holton. But it's a really wonderful production, incredibly powerful. It's not a long night, it's actually quite short. But once people become attuned to the music, everyone has loved it, and it was a tremendous hit when we did it in Sydney. and to have the same people doing it in Melbourne will be fantastic, actually.
No, that's a great
So
overview.
we're looking forward to doing it.
And the Merry Widow. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say we have, of course, the Merry Widow, which opens for us in Melbourne in the State Theatre on the 15th of November. And it's a brand new production by Graham Murphy, and it stars Danielle Denise. And Danielle Denise is now a very famous singer, sings all over the world at the Metropolitan Opera in New York and, of course, in Glyndebourne. But she's from Melbourne, and she's never sung with Opera Australia before, so we're really thrilled that she's doing that. And again, a wonderful, wonderful cast. Julie Lee Goodwin is singing the matinee performances. Stacey Alarm, David Whitney, John Longmuir, Richard Anderson, Chris Hillier, Jane Eade, Graham McFarlane. Really wonderful lineup of singers, and this beautiful production by Graham Murphy. It's a kind of Great Gatsby Merry Widow, so there'll be a lot of dance, a lot of waltzes in this production, and having Danielle Denise do it is really the icing on the cake, I think. So we're thrilled that it's premiering for us in Melbourne. And we've just added something else for Melbourne audiences. Mm-hmm. In fact, this is the first time I've spoken about it. But the greatest bass in the world, Ferruccio Furlanetto, is giving a recital in the Melbourne Recital Centre on the 2nd of October.
Right.
And it's he's really certainly the greatest bass alive, one of the greatest basses ever. And he's never sung in Melbourne before. And so he's doing an all-Russian program, which will be really fantastic for one night only in the Melbourne Recital Centre on the 2nd of October.
Well, we've got an exclusive there, a coup. That's really good.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you, Lyndon. Really, really good. Look, I'll let you go. I know you're rushed for time today, but you've got such a wonderful program coming through there. I can't wait to see these shows. And My Fair Lady is one of my favourites, and The Merry Widow is too. So can't wait. And Carmen, who would not go and see Carmen? It just stands out, doesn't it? It really, really does. Thank you, Pel, for your valuable time today. I wish you well for the Melbourne season and in your career as it continues too.
Thank you very much, Leigh.
Thanks,
it's lovely
Lyndon.
talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Prière, l'un parle bien, l'autre se